Thank you so much, and thank you, Torsten, for including me and for all your hard work. My story, Men Without Men, is a little bit difficult to read from because there's a lot of characters. So I'll let you guys know that most of them you can let them just recede into the background. It's about a group of guys who meet every Tuesday night at a bar in New York called the Phoenix, which a few of you might have been to before, for cheap drinks. The kind of central figure in this group is called Eric. He's the alpha male, so just you can pay attention to him and to Greg, who is the one who's being brought to the bar as a setup. Yeah. Eric was positive, but he never referred to his condition as anything but the AIDS, as if that distancing old ladyish article, the, conveyed everything he cared to say about the relationship. It's not easy to find a boyfriend when you've got the AIDS, Eric said at the Phoenix a month or so after his return. And what do you say to that? It's not like that, Archie said. Guys these days don't care. There's a website for positive guys. To meet each other, I said. Eric gave these responses a huge eye roll. He could roll his eyes all the way around the world. It has less to do with the AIDS and more to do with the fact that you're a horrible old tortoise without a bit of air or light in your little green heart, Trevor monologued. For real? Eric said. Uh-huh. Eric's face was warmed by a rare and dazzling smile. What he wanted from the world was so specific, so much in flux. He himself never knew what it was until someone plopped it into his lap. Apparently at that moment, what he wanted was to be told to fuck off. Then Bendick said, I know someone you would like. Eric's smile dropped. Bendix was the newest member of our group and the youngest, still in his 20s, a lovely, broad-boned, honest-eyed man. Josh had invited him over to talk to us one night, and like a little orphan, he had stayed. Having immigrated to the US as a teenager, he still squeezed his vowels, still maintained a Soviet paleness at his core. Healthy pallor, if that's possible, a defense against snow and oppression. We all wanted to kiss him, every one of us, even those who didn't know it yet. His name is Greg. He lives in my building. He actually reminds me of you. I don't like people like me, Eric said. I've been meaning to bring him around anyway, Bendick said. You don't have to think of it as a setup. Eric sat stumped, and the rest of us gloried in the fact. Greg, as he appeared next to Bendix in the doorway of the Phoenix the next week, was a thin, handsome black man whom we had never seen there before, but who had seemed to have read a manual on how to dress for the place. Baseball hat slightly askewed on shaved head, an undershirt worn to a state of near transparency, jeans that were frayed at the hem, and colorful sneakers that Josh later told me cost around $200. He took off his hat inside, which struck me as gentlemanly. Bendix made the introductions, and Greg laughed as he shook our hands, as if there were some joke we were all already in on. I need a drink, he said. I've had the shittiest week so far. I just got back from Argentina on Sunday, and my kitchen was full of ants, in everything. Like the glass container I keep my cereal in, ant farm. There were tunnels through the granola, little ant highways. They had built rooms. Eric narrowed his eyes. Why were you in Argentina? He asked. I was between jobs. I work freelance, so I just decided to go. If you're going to do nothing for a couple months, it's cheaper down there. Buenos Aires is fun, Trevor said. I've always wanted to go to Buenos Aires, I said. I've always wanted to go to the Bronx, Josh said. I've heard there's a zoo up there, Bendick said. You know what I've always wanted to do? Archie mused. Slap someone across the face with a fish. Alive or dead? Eric asked. Dead, I think. Heavy, yay big, right across the face. Who? No one in particular. It's not an aggressive thing. Purely sensory. Then we all turned to Greg again, blinking expectantly. He hesitated with an open-mouthed smile. Am I being attacked, or is this just how these assholes communicate? He forged ahead. Yes, Buenos Aires is the best, the absolute best. The Malbec is cheap and drinkable, and there's all these artists and writers that are living there. Everyone tangos. It's the new New York. Eric dropped his head forward and tilted it to the side. It was a gesture somewhere between that of an old man trying to hear with his good ear and an angry bull pawing the dirt. "The new New York," he said. "Kinda," said Greg. Eric scanned our faces, as if to register quickly that each of us agreed that Greg had just said something ludicrous. Then he said, "Buenos Aires was the new New York like 5 years ago. Then Montreal became the new New York, and then everything came back around here. New York is the new New York." "Really?" said Greg. "I guess I'm still living a few New Yorks ago." "Oh, I'm vibrating." He jumped up and took out his phone. "I know it's rude, but I have to take this call. It's about a job." He went outside. We all told Bendix how handsome we thought Greg was, all except Eric. He began to talk about the canker sore on the tip of his tongue. "It's a big one, see?" He opened his mouth, extended his tongue, and crossed his eyes to see the tip of that pink taper where a white ulcer was circled in red. Then he retracted his tongue and said, "It's impossible to eat anything spicy or interesting. I'm in hell." "I get those sores sometimes," said Bendix. "It's a kind of pain you can't ignore," said Eric. "Kind of like when you get a zit inside your nose," said Greg, who reappeared beside Eric and pushed a button on his phone. It played a little shutdown tune as he dropped it into his pocket. "Oh, it's so awful, the zit inside the nose. I always wish I could transport the pain to my fingertip or butt or something. The closer a pain is to your brain, the harder it is to ignore. That's the scientific rule, I think. Women in the 1800s got toothaches so bad they'd throw themselves out the window. It was the leading cause of suicide. Not those oppressive marriages, not the whalebone underwear, toothaches." Eric was quiet, and I wondered what he had planned to say before he had been interrupted. If it were more droll than what Greg had said, or less. Bendix twisted his little flower hands. His matchmaking wasn't going well. To take things into a different direction, Josh asked Archie, who's been around the office lately. Let's see, Lindsay Lohan, Richard Gere. We were all intentionally slovenly, but Archie was the only actual slob. His hair and beard were straggly. He had a second trimester beer belly. Often when he slipped between us to order a drink, we got a whiff of curry and knew that he had stopped on 6th Street for a big meal of cheap Indian food on his way to the Phoenix. But Archie also had the highest paying job. He was an agent at a company that represented actors, singers, all manner of stars. "I hate Richard Gere," Eric said. "He stole my joke." "What do you mean he stole your joke?" Bendix asked. This was a story we had heard before. This was a story I had heard before. Most of us had, but it was a good one. "Well, it was when I first moved to New York. I was working at Strand Books, and Richard Gere came in and made a big show of buying all these books on Buddhism." For a second time, Greg interrupted. "Richard Gere steals everyone's jokes. That's just what he does." We were all surprised that Greg had interrupted Eric's Richard Gere story. "How exactly, pray tell, do you know this?" demanded Eric. "I suppose Richard Gere stole one of your jokes, too." "Oh, it's common knowledge. Oh, I'm vibrating." And again, Greg stood up and pulled out his phone. "You are not vibrating," Eric said. "You turned off your phone 10 minutes ago. We all saw you." Greg put his phone back in his pocket, opened his mouth, and released a few bars of throaty laughter. "That's it. That's the joke that Richard Gere stole from me. I do that all the time when I want to get out of a conversation. I say, 'Oh, I'm vibrating,' and take out my phone. The best is when I don't even have my phone on me. I take out my wallet and look at it and I say, 'Oh, I have to take this call.' Complete diss. Richard Gere saw me do that at a party once, and now he does it all the time." "You just made that up," said Eric. "You're good, but I'm better. I totally busted you." "Nigga, please," Greg said merrily. "If I'm going to make something up, it'll be less banal than Richard Gere stealing my joke." Eric sat back with a complicated smile. He had just been called nigga by a black man. Should he feel flattered or insulted? And how to respond? What trumps nigga? Furthermore, Greg had implied that Richard Gere's story would have been banal if told. As Josh said the next day as we gossiped over the phone, that Greg had a lot of tricks up his sleeve for someone in an undershirt.